Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thanks to everyone who's watched my last few videos, and thank you to those of you who have subscribed so far. If you haven't, please hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all of my latest projects. Today I'm going to show you a really quick and easy DIY that I did on these French style bedside drawers and show you how I freshened them up and gave them a new, simple and classic look. So if you're interested, stick around to follow along. So I picked up this really nice pair of solid wood bedside drawers at an auction a while ago now, and they've been sat around ever since in need of some love. Overall, they're in really good condition. They have been previously painted, but they could do with a new paint job and some different hardware. There's no dings or dents in the wood. What we're dealing with here is purely cosmetic and should only take us a couple of hours. I gave them each a quick clean to remove any dust and dirt, and I then took them outside to be sanded. Using a medium grit sandpaper on my orbital, I went over all of the surfaces which I'm going to paint, just to scuff things up a bit and give the paint something to grip to. Prep really is the most important step, and you should never really be skipping this. I then quickly removed the hardware so that I can sand properly. I'm now using my favourite two-part filler to fill the holes. Using a putty knife, I apply the cream hardener and I mix thoroughly and quickly to fill the holes before it starts to set up. I always leave the filler raised so I can sand it back smooth after. Whilst my filler dries, I'm going to clean the rest of the piece with elbow grease to remove the last of the sanding dust and get it nice and clean, ready to paint. Now that the filler has dried, I'm going to use a fine grit sandpaper and sand the filler back smooth. So I'm going to be using a great product by Ronsil, which is a primer and paint in one. I've used this numerous times before. It's got a great brilliant white satin finish and it holds up really well without the need for a top coat. And for these bedside drawers, I'm going to be using a microfiber roller. So this paint is really quick drying and it was a nice and sunny day outside, so I managed to apply a second coat pretty much straight away. As I am using white, I will probably have to give them around 4 coats or so for full coverage. So after I let the paint dry for an hour or so in the sun, I used an ultra fine sandpaper on my orbital to smoothen out the first coat before applying the next. I always use sandpaper in between coats for a nicer finish. I'm also trying to be cautious now about leaving fingerprints in the paint whilst it cures, so I'm mostly using the palm of my hand if I do need to move the drawers. So from here onwards, it's a case of rinse and repeat. I give them both a good coat of paint with the roller, allow that coat to dry, and build up with more and more coats until I have full coverage. So I'm on my fourth and final coat now. The coverage is looking pretty good. So after I finish with this coat, I'm going to leave them to dry overnight before addressing the new hardware. It's now time to add the new hardware. I'm using some vintage French handles which I refinished a while back, and I'm using my drawer pull jig to help me work out the spacing in between the holes and where to drill them. I'm marking the holes through the guide onto the drawer front and drilling out the new holes. And now for the last step, which is to screw on the handles from the inside with new bolts. And here we have the finished bedside drawers. I'm really happy with how they've turned out. I know they are quite plain and simple, but sometimes I think this is best for certain pieces. The Ronseal paint gave such a nice high-end finish, and I am really happy with the subtle detail that the new handles bring. And like with anything else that I paint, I'm going to leave these alone for a couple of weeks just whilst the paint cures before they're used. And I hope you enjoyed following along with this super quick and easy DIY. I know it wasn't anything groundbreaking, it wasn't hard, so this is even one for the beginners out there. So, thanks for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again soon on my next video.